Are you exhausted watching your child struggle with ADHD signs despite trying every traditional approach? Maybe you've sat through the countless appointments where doctors quickly diagnose your child, prescribe medications, and when that didn't work, all they did was simply increase the dosage or switch brands. If you're like many parents that I meet in my practice, you felt frustrated that no doctor is willing to discuss anything other than prescription medications, leaving you wondering if there's actually something more that can be done for a long-term success. I want to tell you something that you may not have been aware of. 7 million children in the United States have been diagnosed with ADHD. Yet traditional testing methods only focus on labeling and categorizing signs without ever identifying what's actually causing them. What if I told you though that there's a revolutionary type of ADHD test that doesn't just tell you what type of ADHD your child has, but shows you an exact understanding neurologically with what's causing these struggles to be present in the first place? I want to tell you about a practice member in my office, Ben, whose story might sound just all too familiar. This little boy was struggling in school for 2 years. Bennett had been diagnosed with ADHD. His mom described the frustration with traditional care. She was blown away that how many doctors would not handle this child. She was diagnosed quickly. It was given a prescription, and when that didn't work, the dosage was increased 2 more times. And when that didn't work, she was told to try a different brand. These doctors were literally guessing. There's no analysis, switch brand, increase dosage. That is the focus of what you will get in a medical-based environment for ADHD. Now, Ben's family sought out nutritional testing, functional medicine testing, and they started to see some improvements, right? They ditched the prescriptions and they were looking at other options, but they wanted to make sure that what they were doing was actually going to help to benefit him long term, because they didn't want to go back to the medications and they were looking for an alternative opportunity. This is when they found neurologically focused chiropractic care, where the approach was completely different. It allowed us to focus on a long-term health plan, not just masking the symptoms, but complementing the uniqueness of this child. Now, as we dive into this, you have to understand that there's really 2 types of ADHD in a very simplified version that I see in my practice. You've got the raging bull, right? This is a kid that it's the most common with children under the age of 5. These kiddos, they seem fine throughout their life, but they're running around 100 miles an hour, their brains are busy, and they don't like to slow down, stop, or sit still at all. They display hyperactivity and impulsiveness on a regular basis. We have the drunken bulls, which don't show hyperactivity as much. It's mostly when they get distracted or off track or disorganized. They also seem to really focus on older children, not as much the younger ones, and it's misunderstood for laziness or lack of motivation. These kids are also really discoordinated in their body movement patterns as well. Most children, though, have a combination of both, right? Nobody's just one particular focus, and they display elements of both hyperactivity and inattentiveness, which require a comprehensive approach to address both aspects. There's different causative factors for both, and it's not as simple as just taking a medication. The problem that I see with traditional ADHD testing is that these standardized medical tests and surveys focus solely on labeling. They categorize the type of ADHD challenge, and they do so without necessarily focusing on the complexity of the individual, and they don't understand how these different signs and symptoms are unique to each child. The traditional testing measures and tracks signs without looking deeper into the function of the brain and the nervous system, where the actual root cause actually lays. This is exactly why most ADHD care plans and strategies fall short, because parents don't see the overall improvement. They just see the masking and the drugs affecting their child. However, there are other opportunities. The Insight neurological scans reveal the root cause. The advantage of these advanced scans is that they measure the exact amount of distress, dysfunction, and disorganization within the central and autonomic nervous system. This is actually the area where the brain and body connection that really controls everything within the body. So for a raging bull hyperactive type, we see focus on the total energy index of the surface EMG, which should be around 150 or less for optimal function. Whereas with kids that we see who are testing higher, they show massive stress within their nervous system. Whereas for the drunken bull, which is the inattentive type, we'll see an overall pattern score on the surface EMG of like 100 or lower. And it represents really a different type of disorganization within their nervous system. And these children focus or have issues struggling with focus and organization. So these scores help us to understand where the uniqueness lays. And these scans don't just label a type of ADHD. They're used analytically to understand where nervous system dysfunction is located. And then from there, it allows us to create a personalized care plan to relieve that stress within the body. The root cause of ADHD is real and it's not being discussed. What we've discovered is that ADHD struggles stem from subluxation, which is an area of dysfunction and disorganization within the autonomic nervous system that allows how the brain and how the body communicate, which is just off track. The nervous system stress often begins early in life, and this is what we call the perfect storm. There's prenatal stress, birth trauma from interventions like forceps or C-sections, and early childhood stressors that accumulate over time. When the nervous system gets stuck in fight or flight mode, it creates the exact signs that we see with ADHD: difficulty focusing, hyperactivity, emotional dysregulation, and behavioral challenges. If you are looking for an alternative for what's not working with your child with ADHD, I would love for you to take a look at our bio. Learn more about the Insight scans and how we use this scanning technology to analytically understand where distress resides within your child's nervous system so that we can use that data and work with their neurology to help that brain and body get more connected internally.